All right, y'all, let's talk about intros and leads. So, our goal here is to write an introductory paragraph with an effective lead. Intro and lead is kind of synonymous. By the way, you can call it an intro paragraph, a lead paragraph. Um, Either way, you're leading into your paper. You might also see it spelled LEDE if we're talking journalism. That's an alternate spelling. We're going to stick with the traditional spelling here for now. All right. So I'm going to show you several different kinds of leads you can use with some examples, and then you'll have a chance to write a couple and see which one works for your paper. So the first lead you can use is a quotation. Right? In this case, you would include a quotation from a voice that is not your own, but that speaks to your idea or argument. So if we look here at the example, we've got writing about the history of school and summer vacation. James Peterson of Seton Hall University remarked that, quote, in light of global competition and America's consistently poor international rankings, it would seem a logical conclusion to extend the school year to increase instructional time. By the way, these are using our year round school example we've been using throughout these videos. In this case, though, we're in the pro camp here, arguing for year round school. So you can see again, we start from this quote. We say who this guy was and that he works at a university. So we're establishing some ethos here. Um, if he works for Seton Hall, he's probably got some credibility, right? So that's a quotation, and it's going to lead us down into our thesis statement, which again is not going to vary throughout these examples. A year-round school calendar should be used because it prevents summer learning loss. It would be a more efficient use of existing facilities and actually lowers the cost of education on a per-student basis. Right? So we started with the quote, and then we've led down into that. A second option here is a social observation. Right? So you make an observation about how society works today, and you connect it to the idea. If we were writing about literature, you could also make a literature observation where you talk about literature in general. So keep that in mind for future assignments. But here, because we're persuading, we're writing about a societal issue. We're going to make a social observation. So here we've got for most American students, summer break is an essential time of year. This time is used to travel, play sports, work, or just relax. To them, the idea of your own school isn't even a thought. Right? So um, again, that's just a general understanding in society, in American society. Summer's a big deal to kids, and you get that break from school. But because we're going to argue that we should have year-round school in this example, we're going to come out with our however. It would offer many benefits to these students and our thesis. Right, so that's a social observation. Option three, we're going to call straight to the point. You're going to give a jarring, dramatic opening line and then introduce your idea. So we might say something like this. Because we've always done it that way is a poor excuse to keep doing something that is proven to be ineffective. And the reason that's kind of jarring is because right off the bat, we're calling the traditional calendar ineffective. We're jumping right to that. And we have the words poor excuse, right? So it's almost not insulting, right? But it could be taken that way. We've got these sort of harsh words in our opening sentence. So we're trying to jar our reader into seeing our point. And then we follow those up with the traditional school calendar as an example of poor and ineffective things. Okay? And again, we finish with our same thesis so you can see how it fits with many leads. You could also do a summary. In that case, you're just going to give a short summary of the issue and introduce your idea. So in this example, we basically just give a real quick summary of why the traditional school calendar is what it is, how it came to be. And then again, with our thesis, we're going to argue that it's time to move on from that. But we've given a summary so our reader has some context to know how we got to this point and then why we're going to argue differently. Another option here is what we call set the scene. So you want to invite the reader to imagine being in a moment in time that illustrates that situation. And then you use their visualization of that to introduce the idea of the paper. Again, if we're writing about literature, you can use this. You want to maybe invite them to imagine being in a moment in the book or the story you're writing about. But again, we're persuading here, so we're going to use a real life example. Now, this one does use second person pronouns, which I have sort of tried to get you to limit in your writing. But if in this case, if this is the lead you're using, you can get away with words like you. So again, we're setting the scene. So we might say something like, think back to summers past. How did you spend that time? Maybe you traveled or spent most of those days practicing and playing a sport. Perhaps you worked as much as you could to save some money for the year. Maybe you relaxed on the couch or by the pool. Right, those are typical summer activities that people do. So you're trying to invite your reader to think back to that and sort of envision what they did during the summer. And then again, because we're arguing against that, right? So now we have to mention that we have a different idea for summer because we're arguing for your own school here. So we're setting the scene one way, and then we're going to try to get them to envision a different thing. And as always, this one ends with our thesis is the last sentence of our introduction in all of these examples. So again, that's what we call setting the scene. You're going to present a scene and ask your reader to envision themselves in it. And then you're going to get into your point. All right, so for a mastery check, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to your research position paper document, and I want you to draft at least 2 different leads. All right, pick any 2 of these things that you think work for you. You're going to write 2. So you're going to have 2 introductory lead paragraphs in different styles. I want you to attach a screenshot of that to the posted assignment in Google Classroom. You don't need to submit your actual document, just a screenshot of the 2 lead paragraphs. And then once you've got those 2, decide which one you like best and which one you might keep to use for your actual paper.